6th episode of Pitch Catch. This week we have a pitch and there's a lot to discuss, so I want to make sure that I spend all my time talking about it because I know that's what you enjoy most. Last week I submitted an application to TIFF for media accreditation. All we have to do now is wait. I'm going to be cutting back from 5 articles a week to 3 articles. The reason for this is that I'm spending so much time building a lot of new and exciting things for Write for Hollywood that I just don't have the time to invest in quality articles as I used to. What I want to do here is simulate the experience of submitting to an executive or a producer. And very rarely do you just send a pitch. You usually send a letter containing a pitch, which is a query. And within that, you also have an introduction, a little bit about yourself and your experience, and you have the ask, or what it is you want the person to do in terms of taking action. So the reason I asked for this is so I can help you craft your query as well as your pitch. And sometimes a query is just as difficult to craft as a pitch. So without further ado, let's just get to it. Here's the pitch. I'm going to read it off my iPhone as it was written so you get a sense for exactly how it was put. I think I'm safe in assuming that Ezra is from the United States, but English is not his first language because there's a couple of spelling mistakes and grammatical errors that I think are down to a language barrier, not just mistakes. So please forgive me if I stumble over a couple of words. I want to read them as written. Okay, so here we go. The pitch. Good day. Once again, I enjoyed the podcast. Very helpful. Thank you. With your response, I have already narrowed not down, the agencies that potentially represent me in the future. I don't question this week. However, I do have a pitch that I would like for you to critique. Here goes. Title: Love, Sex, Power. Logline: a feature narrative drama about an optimistic guy who finds his life in awry when he tries to live with his soulmate. Synopsis: after serving a brief sentence, Michael will stop at nothing to be reunited with Christy, even if it means going through her present beau. In your past blog, you talked about starting what you may have accomplished as a writer. Being anew, this could be difficult. Although I could very state that I have a blog, am outlining a feature. I cannot wait to hear your advice. Best, Ezra. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Ezra, for sending this in to us, and let's get to it. Okay, so what's good about this? Well, obviously he's done his research, he knows what I'm looking for, he's watched my videos. That is excellent. That's exactly what you should be doing. He submitted a title, a logline, and a synopsis, which is great, as well as a brief note as to why he's sending it to me specifically, and also what kind of action he wants me to take. The logline clearly states that it's a narrative dramatic feature. It also talks about who the main character is, what he's after, which is love, and what he's up against, the source of conflict, which is the beau, and also that it's a love story and potentially what is at stake. He may go back to jail. What could be improved? And when I said make sure that it includes the genre and the format, I didn't actually mean to be that literal. Stating that it's a narrative dramatic feature is not necessary. It should be suggested in your logline by how you express yourself. Now, one thing that I've mentioned, I believe it was last week, or no, 2 weeks ago, was don't be afraid to be specific. For example, you say optimistic guy, life awry, and live with his soulmate. It's nice, but it's a little too general. Later you also say that he's an ex-con who will stop at nothing. Maybe if you elaborated on what he was in jail for, we would have a better understanding as to what stop at nothing means. Because being in jail for tax evasion is very different from being in jail for murder. Who is Christy? What does he mean to her? Who is her current beau? What does he represent to Michael? What's their relationship? Why is he a threat to an ex-con? Why is Michael optimistic? Saying that your life is awry is a little like saying hilarity ensues. It's very general. I'd like to hear very specific details as to what happens to Michael as a result of taking action. He just got out of jail, so how is your life more awry than being in jail? It's great that you got specific with the name, but the name is actually not as important as the character. Like, what kind of person are these characters? Your synopsis. Again, I believe I addressed this a couple of episodes ago, so you might want to check that episode again for the difference between a logline and a synopsis. Essentially, the synopsis you wrote is a reworded version of your logline. It was actually much clearer than your logline. Verbs in loglines are very, very important, and not a lot of people actually tell you this. So the verbs you choose must be active verbs. Verbs like tries and finds, which are the ones that you used, are very passive verbs. A hero or protagonist is always taking action. He's doing something. And finding and trying are not doing anything. A title should very clearly state your hook and your concept. And Love, Sex, Power is a very, very vague title. And again, it's got to tie into your concept. So I would actually suggest revisiting your title. I wanted to ask too, why drama? Drama is a very difficult genre to sell, especially from a new writer, even from an established writer, mostly because they really don't make money. Honestly, I would suggest considering making it a horror or a suspense or thriller or action. You have a better chance of selling something that's more of a genre film than drama. Just to comment on the final paragraph, I want to pretend for a minute that this paragraph was written to a producer, not just to me. You wanted to mention some of your accomplishments, and yet you stated that you are a new writer, and so then you say that you have a blog and are an outline for a movie. Don't downplay your credentials or your experience. If you have no experience, that's fine, just don't say so. Everybody has some sort of credentials or experience that's related to the movie that they're writing, otherwise you wouldn't write it. What qualifies you to write a screenplay about a man who's come out of jail? One thing as a little bit of a side note, you noted that you had asked about agencies, and you had lined up a list of agencies you wanted to contact in the future. However, later on in your email, you stated that you hadn't actually written anything. You'd written an outline and a blog. I wouldn't actually waste your time looking for agents at this point. Focus on getting the work done first. I'm going to take this one step further and talk about concept. It's not enough to write about a character with a problem. Why is this story important to you? Why must you tell it? What is the controlling idea? What is the message you want to leave people with? You are competing against hundreds of thousands of screenplays. Why would somebody want to read your script over the rest? Whatever that unique element is, that is your hook. That is what must be in your pitch. That is what sells. That's all we have this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much to Ezra for sending in your pitch. I know there are plenty of you out there who are itching to send in your pitches, so send them in. Be an example for somebody else. Help them learn to improve their pitches. It's pretty powerful stuff, and you'll learn a lot. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Bye.